There are many different styles of management, and there are different kinds of companies as well. Some organizations are quite relaxed. The values of the organization are more around togetherness. I want to be careful not to use negative words here. The impact, and I would say less focused on performance. A performance-driven organization is really focused on results. I'm a firm believer in strong execution, getting strong results. There must be good strategy. You start with vision, then you have strategy, then you have execution, and hopefully you then get results. I tend to be quite hands-on, and being an engineer mind, I'm usually the one who has an idea of how things might work. And so I like to be in with the team, fixing things, working on things, and making things go well. The challenge with that is growing a team and supporting team members to do work that's not me, is that they may be approaching a job or a task without the context that I have. I have 20 years of experience now in tech support and consulting and fixing tech problems. And sometimes when I go to fix a router in my house, I use something that I learnt when I was 15 years old or 12 years old, manually coding IP addresses into networks. And yet most of our staff members are, 5 or 10 years younger than me, and they probably didn't start when they were 11 years old. And so they're unfairly disadvantaged compared to me because I have all of this context in a database in my head. And I didn't even go to university either. I just went straight into the workforce and doing a lot of technical work. So it kills me when I give something to someone else and there are mistakes. However, it is essential. It is essential for team members to be able to find their ways. I think we've got a pretty tolerant culture in our business for mistakes to happen. And Regina, you can keep me accountable for this. You can add your opinion where appropriate. The thing that I am intolerant of is repeated mistakes. If someone makes a mistake once, that's fine. But I try as much as possible to have what I call aha moments before we have oh shit moments. And what that means is something goes wrong, and Regina hates this, but we tend to do a very thorough post-mortem on what went wrong. What was the timeline? What happened when? And that's not a finger-pointing exercise. It's not about finding the person who got it wrong. It's more about finding out what was the action that was wrong. It's not the person, but it's what was the action that was wrong. And then we look to fix the system. I'm very technically minded. And so most of my strategies for managing people are more around managing and creating the perfect system rather than trying to find the perfect people. Because in my opinion, the execution of a company is only really going to be as good as the framework holding everybody together. So that means your management frameworks, it means your task frameworks. So when we have a mistake made, it's really easy for us to go, damn, the system didn't work, rather than that person's wrong or that person, did something stupid. Because that's, yeah, sure, sometimes our mind still goes there. But my personal preference is to try and look at, okay, well, how could we have created a better system for that? And as a leader, the buck stops with you. And I think the highest level of leadership requires the highest level of responsibility. Plenty of people want leadership because of the prestige of hierarchy. And, that's nice. But I think 1% of the role of leadership is hierarchy, or maybe it's 0%. Most of the role is holding the responsibility. And if you're an entrepreneur, you have all of the responsibility of many people's jobs, but also, the livelihood of not only them, but their families as well. And that's a massive responsibility. And so when something goes wrong in the business, my perspective is, well, I'm the ultimate leader. Even if it was a middle manager that messed something up, well, I must not have supported the middle manager to build great systems for their team or to support their team or in some way for that not to happen. And it doesn't mean it's my fault, but my responsibility at that moment where something doesn't go right is to look at what's my part in that. And ideally, building a high-functioning team means that you can have the trust with each other to be a little bit vulnerable with each other. So when something does go wrong, everyone can come to the table and say, here was my piece in what went wrong here. Here's my bit. And it's not, I'm a bad person. It's not, I'm a dummy. It's just, here's how I contributed to things not going right for the team. Let's work on making it better.